All right, Shalom. I want to start by saying, HALAL, YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, BAHASHAM, Kadash. Double honors to the apostles of Israel, aka the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and love to all the Akim. Continue to preach the truth and all truth and sincerity. All right, real quick, just not too long ago, maybe like 10, 15 minutes ago, if that, came across something on Instagram, fake Twitter, and it's called Instagram Threads, and it's basically like it's Instagram's version of Twitter. And I came across something, I used a picture that I came across. It said basically breaking news, the U.S. House, Congress, whatever, set to vote on a bill that the bill would enact people would get American citizens get $1 million fine or get even possible prison time for those that boycott against the small hats. So I'm looking at, I'm like $1 million fine, and that it just said American citizens. So it's, a lot of people, a lot of regular U.S. citizens not even gonna touch $1 million, man. But they talk about fining $1 million in case of boycotting them. Now, when you go into what the fuck is happening now, why will people be boycotting Israel? It's not because they just don't like them. It's because of what they're doing, man, and what they're doing, how it's affecting the whole earth, man, and how it's definitely affecting America because America can't seem to not want to support these motherfuckers. So I'm gonna go into one of the articles. It's two articles on the brand. One from Press TV, and the other is from Newsweek. Now, the one from Press TV, it says U.S. That's the title of the video. It says U.S. House to vote on bill of prison for boycott of Israel. So it says the U.S. House of Representatives is set to vote on a controversial bill that proposes fines or prison terms for Americans participating in boycotts of Israel or small hat settlements promoted by international governmental organizations such as the UN or EU. It says the House is scheduled to vote Monday on the contentious Anti-Boycott Act, which seeks to penalize American citizens with fines up to $1 million or prison terms as long as 20 years for boycotting the small hat regime. So the 48ers. So basically, the bill is set to penalty to penalize people that boycott these small hats, and then one of the things could be up to $1 million fine or up to a 20-year prison term. It says that sponsored by pro-Israel Congressman Mike Lawler and Josh Gottheimer, the bill will broaden the U.S. anti-boycott law by targeting voluntary, values-based political actions undertaken by American citizens. Now, this is against American citizens. It says the underlying objective is to shield the small hat regime, from nonviolent international pressure campaigns, notably the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement, BDS. Now, you see that? Now, here it is. Basically, you're supposed to have the right to do this, to boycott or whatnot, but yet somehow these fucking small hats and their fucking puny-ass, insecure-ass, bastard-ass motherfuckers, you just can't say nothing about them. And then you got America with their heads so far up their ass, it's like, they're going to vote. And this vote is to take place tomorrow because it says Monday. And this article I'm reading from U.S. Press came out on yesterday. But continuing on, it says rights groups warn that the legislation will criminalize constitutionally protected political expression. But they do that for us with Amalek, man. They go against the Constitution. They go against their moral code in America for these small hats over there, man. That's how you know that's how you know who's ruling and who really controls America, man. Because there's no way in hell that these motherfuckers should be so significant and so important to American life. But yeah, here it is. You can't boycott against them. But here it is. These motherfuckers out here slaughtering people. Americans spending the money, giving the money to do so. And we're just be not saying nothing. We're supposed to let it rock. That go to show that who's in power. It says the move, according to rights groups, is part of a broader push by the U.S. government to suppress opposition to Amalekite 48er genocide, apartheid, and illegal settlement expansion under the guise of fighting anti-S. It said the original act was introduced in 2024, Back then, the Republican-controlled Congress passed the bill with broad bipartisan support, but the Senate Democrats blocked the legislation. It says now that Republicans control the Senate as well, there is a significant chance that the act will pass both Congress and Senate. So that means that basically they feel strongly that this bill shall be passed. Now here it is, so many other things to worry about in America, but you're worried about how motherfuckers is treating these motherfuckers. That's why when YAHAWASHI comes back, man, first order of business, he's going to fuck up these Amalekites, man. Those people over there in our land. His land first. It said the majority of anti-48er boycotts aim to force the regime to end a genocidal war on Gaza that has taken the lives of more than 52,500 Palestinians and injured at least 118,000, most of whom are children and women. Now, we know how Amalek get down. Always preying on the weak, man. It said the 48er regime has put Gaza on a total blockade for 2 months and barred the entry of all humanitarian aid, including food, which according to the UN's Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, IPC, had driven the territory's 2.3 million population toward famine. And that's one of the things the Lord spoke about that was going to happen in that time, man. It was going to be famines. And right now, look, it's crazy. So that was the article. So now, I got a quick scripture real quick. And I'm going to get another article as well. Here we go. So, matter of fact, I'm going to read the NLT. So this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 10, verse 1. I'm going to read verse 1 and 2. Matter of fact, I'm going to read verse 3. So this is Isaiah chapter 10, verse 1, and it says, what sorrow awaits the unjust judges and those who issue unfair laws. And that's an unfair law, man, because here it is in the U.S. Constitution. You have the right to boycott and all that shit and protest and all that stuff right now. You know what I'm saying? But now they're saying that, oh, you can't protest against Amalek. You can't protest against the small heads over there. Or against them, period. They call it anti-S. But here it is, they out here and killed almost 60,000 people, the Palestinians, and injured almost 120,000 of them, mostly women and children. And they get a pass. They could do what the fuck they want. That's how you know who's ruling. Who's able to do what the fuck they want and not suffer the consequences. And if someone else do the same exact thing and suffer the consequences, man. Esau and they are up at the top is Amalek, man. It says Isaiah chapter 10, verse 2, it says, they deprive the poor of justice and deny the rights of the needy among my people. They prey on widows and take advantage of orphans. So that's what they've been doing. And it said they prey upon widows and take advantage of orphans. Who they just said, even though that it said our people, but look what they're doing over there to the Palestinians now. It said most of the victims have been women and children. And why would their children be orphans? Because they're killing a lot of the people. Verse 3, and it's Isaiah chapter 10, verse 3 in the NLT, it says, what will you do when I punish you, when I send disaster upon you from a distant land? Because who does the Lord care about? See, the Lord doesn't care about those Ishmaelites over there. He don't care about the Palestinians. But the Lord has been doing and did the same thing to his people. Killing the women, killing the children, killing the men, killing our people as a whole, man. What is this? Issuing unfair laws. And the laws that they have, Jacob's not giving Jacob's not giving the due process. He's not giving justice. But yet, if Jake do some minor shit, he gets the book thrown at him. And that's why YAHAWASHI about to fuck you devils up, man. And you want to talk about voting on a bill to protect these motherfuckers. What protection do they need? They're the ones doing all the bad shit. But America say everybody, and it says that they think that it's gonna be passed, and they take this vote tomorrow. Tomorrow, it said Monday. This article came out May 3rd. Now I have another article. Now this is from Newsweek, and it says MAGA leaders defend Americans' right to boycott Israel. But hold up, MAGA is Make America Great Again. Ain't that the people that support Trump? Now you have, it said that now Trump is behind this bill, and they say that if I think I put the picture, but it says since the Republican and the Senate and the Congress is mostly Republican now, that they're more than likely going to pass this bill to where the bill would insist on fining $1 million and up to a 20-year prison term for those that boycott against Israel, man, against the small hats. And it says here, it says MAGA leaders defend Americans' right to boycott Israel because they're talking about doing it to American citizens. They're not talking about this abroad. They're talking about right here. And who possibly could they target behind that? The prophets, man. Now we don't actually boycott and talk about this, that, and the third, but we're the ones that's coming against these Amalekites, man. Coming against them, telling that they're not the children of Israel, that they're the imposters, they're the devil that the Bible speaks of, they're Esau, they're the Amalekites that the Lord said He hates. These are the things that they might try to bunch us all up. Who knows? Because the persecution of the prophets got to be coming. And if we're claiming to be the true Israelites, they're over in Atlanta, Israel, claiming to be the true Israelites. Something got to be wrong. Someone got to be telling the truth, and somebody got to not be telling the truth. And the truth being told is that the so-called blacks are the real Jews. All right? So yeah, this is from Newsweek. It says, MAGA leaders defend Americans' right to boycott Israel. It says, prominent figures from within President Donald Trump's Make America Great Again, or MAGA movement, came out against the bipartisan IGO Anti-Boycott Act, House Resolution 867, saying it would criminalize boycotts and free speech against who? Israel, against the small hats, man, against the 48ers. It says Newsweek reached out to Representative Mike Lawler, a New York Republican, and Representative Josh Gottheimer, which are mentioned in the other article. It says a New Jersey Democrat, which is the state I'm in, who introduced the legislation for comment. It says why it matters. It says critics of the HR H67 say the legislation goes against the right to free speech, establishing the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Its supporters say it targets anti-S actions, including boycotts of Israel. The bill has bipartisan support, but also faces bipartisan opposition. But they're saying that they think that it's more likely going to get passed. But you see that it's not talking about nothing else. It's about against these motherfuckers. Why is it always about them? Why does America care so much about their feelings? But here it is. We came over in the worst conditions, cargo slave ships, the whippings, the lynches, and all that, and nobody bat an eye. And it was under them people that claim to over in Atlanta, Israel right now, those small hats. Those are the ones that funded the slave trade. These are the ones that still fund the slave trade, man, because we're still in slavery. And now they talk about a bill to talk about you can't even boycott against it. Nobody's even doing that to these motherfuckers, man. It says, according to the lawmakers who introduced the bill, Lawler and Gottheimer, H.R. 67 amends the Export Control Reform Act of 2018 to include international governmental organizations, IGOs, and existing anti-boycott laws. The congressman said in the January press release that the change targets harmful and inherently anti-S boycott efforts undertaken at IGOs while also extending protections already in place for boycotts instigated by foreign countries. But you see, they solely talk about them, man. They ain't mention nobody else, but they mention fucking the small hats. They mention the 48ers. It says, however, critics warn the bill threatens the constitutional rights of Americans. The penalties under the legislation include civil penalties, criminal fines of up to $1 million, and imprisonment of up to 20 years for supporting calls to boycott Israel. Now, most of these people, I don't know what class of American citizens are boycotting Israel, but a fine of $1 million is fucking crazy. That's fucking madness. And when I seen that on the Instagram fake Twitter, I didn't even believe it. I had to actually find it for myself. And sure and behold, went in the Google search engine, it was right there. And Press TV, Newsweek, who else got coverage? I don't know them. Yeah, I can Maya Dean English Congress.gov. Their whole that and that's as credible as you could be. That's exact Congress website, man. So you see how they come all together for this. They all serious about this. But when it comes to other things regarding what can help American citizens, they on some fuck shit. But when it comes to penalizing and motherfucking violating constitutional rights, they're all for it. They're meeting quick. So going back to U.S. Newsweek. So it says a number of prominent MAGA lawmakers said Sunday they plan to vote against the legislation after the public backlash. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, a Georgia Republican who had opposed the bill on X, formerly Twitter, wrote that the vote was canceled. "I'm told we are no longer voting on this. It's been pulled," she wrote in the X post. It said the legislation came amid ongoing protests against Israel, with university campuses in the spotlight due to students demonstrating against criticizing the Middle Eastern ally of the U.S. It says supporters of the protests say they are standing up for Palestinian rights amid Israel's war in Gaza. Critics of the protests, which often call for boycotting Israel, saying the demonstrators are anti-S and threaten J students. Meanwhile, some J students and groups also participate in the protests against Israel. So that's saying how divided. Because here it is, you got small hats protesting against it. So you're gonna find them too. That's how you know this kingdom is at its end, man. Because you got small hats against small hats, or J's against J's, against this whole war stuff. You gonna find them a man dies? You gonna throw them in prison for 20 years? Because the prophets of YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, we're not quote unquote boycotting against Israel, man. We're just saying that they're not the real Israelites. We're not at college campuses. We're not at rallies. We're using our freedom of speech. But you see what they said though? They said that that's exactly what they're targeting. So then they can bunch everybody up all together like that, and then hence the persecution of the prophets. Cause that's what they truly coming after, man. Cause them protests in the college camp, it ain't stopped the war at all. They still out here moving the same way. But what's really getting to them, the prophets of YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. That's who they want to get off the streets. That's who they want to stop who's protesting. Because in a sense, we are protesting against these devils. But what? They not putting us on the news because why? They put us on the news. That means that what? That people are going to start to think like, or so what they're saying valid? You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot to unpack here, man. But that's what the Lord said. That's what the enemy shall come in like a flood. Because no question that what these devils are doing is definitely they're going to directly gear it towards the prophets of YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, because we're the ones that's actually telling the truth and backing it up with facts. And the facts mainly being the scriptures. Even the very Torah that they adore. You know? But continuing on in the article from Newsweek, it says Israel's current war against Hamas, which the U.S. designates as a T organization, began in the aftermath of Palestinian militant group October 7th attack, that was in 2023 attack that left more than 1,200 people unalived in Israel. Since the war started, more than 50,000 Palestinians have been unalived and over 100,000 injured. Now, that would seem that y'all have gotten well over even from 1,200 to you kill like 50,000 of them and injure 100,000 of them, almost 120,000. Because they said the number was 118,000. So almost 120,000 people that you small heads injured, and over 50,000 people you didn't kill, but yet you still have crying talking about anti-S this, anti-S that, and people are just speaking about against your atrocities that you're committing. That's how you know that they're in power. Because here it is, if you speak against the atrocities that they're doing, you get in trouble. But if you speak about the atrocities of someone else, then it's nothing. But everything that comes to them, especially with America, man, it's crazy. So hold up. And remember, and this article in Newsweek, I read the article from Press TV that talk about the actual bill, but this article from Newsweek is talking about actual MAGA, which are Trump supporters, against this bill. So that's what Saints House divided. How shall it stand? A kingdom divided against itself. That's America. They're talking about coming at American citizens. All right. It says what MAGA critics of HR 867 say. It says Representative Anna Paulina Luna, a Florida Republican on X. And there's a Republican. So another part of the kingdom divided amongst itself, because it said it's mostly Republican Congress and Senate, but it's also Republicans with opposition. So it says HR 867 up for a vote tomorrow aims to curb anti-S but threatens First Amendment rights. So they're willing to threaten First Amendment rights for anti-S. It says Americans have the right to boycott, and penalizing this risks free speech. I reject and vehemently condemn anti-S, but I cannot violate the First Amendment. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, a Georgia Republican on X. I will be voting no. It is my job to defend Americans' rights to buy or boycott whomever they choose without the government harshly fining them or imprisoning them. But what I don't understand is why we are voting on a bill on behalf of other countries and not the president's executive orders that are for our country. Ooh! Woo! Set and match. Kingdom divided amongst itself. You talk about a whole country all the way over to the Middle East that has really nothing to do with Americans. Americans don't feel inclined to worry about the fucking small hats over there. But somehow the government does. American government does. It says Representative Thomas Massey, a Kentucky Republican. These are all Republicans. It says on X responded to Green. It says, I agree with Republican MTG, which is I'll be voting no on this bill as well. Former Representative Matt Gaetz of Florida Republican X. If this bill becomes law, how many 1948er products do I need in my home to avoid fines or prison? If I leave a 48er made product outside my home, is it the 2025 version of lamb's blood that keeps my family safe? It says Steve Bannon, a prominent Trump ally and host of the War Room podcast, shared Gaetz's post on Gaetz and wrote, fact check true. It says what supporters of HR 867 say. It says Lawler in a January statement, I'm proud to reintroduce the IGO Anti-Boycott Act, a bipartisan effort to protect U.S. citizens, businesses, and our allies, particularly Israel. Particularly Israel. And your fucking own tongue is condemning you, man. You're saying that you fucking kissing their ass. It says, I'm proud to reintroduce the IGO Anti-Boycott Act, a bipartisan effort to protect U.S. citizens, businesses, and our allies, particularly Israel, from discriminatory boycotts. This bill closes a critical loophole by ensuring that international organizations cannot enable harmful BDS boycott, divestment, and sanctions efforts. The legislation is essential to safeguard Israel's security and economy from unjust attacks. So you're basically saying that it's really solely for these small hats, man. These imposters. It says the AIPAC, which is American Israel Public Affairs Committee, in a January statement, strongly supports the IGO Anti-Boycott Act, which makes clear the U.S. will not countenance UN instigated boycotts of our ally Israel. It's all about our ally Israel. That's all that matters. And they're showing you right here. They're showing you that they only care about the well-being of the fucking small hats, man. But here it is, you got American citizens with their gripe about things going on in this country, and you're not even fucking talking about. But you want to talk about some motherfuckers. That's why, man. And that's why you're getting greatly despised. That's why people are boycotting you in the first place, because y'all showing such favoritism to them. And it said, you're violating the First Amendment right of the Constitution. The bitch even said, I'm not for advocating anti-S, but she is for protecting the First Amendment. And what this law is doing is saying, it's violating the First Amendment of the Constitution. And clearly they don't give a fuck, because they say that they think the bill's going to be passed. It says, what happened next? H.R. 867 was slated to come up for a vote in the House of Representatives on Monday. However, Green said on Sunday that the legislation has now been pulled and its fate is unclear. So they're saying it's been pulled. They're saying that it's supposed to vote tomorrow. Who knows? We'll see tomorrow. But they go to show at what said what the scripture said. And that's why the sorrow is coming to you, small hats. Hold up. I sneeze. Hold up. All right, wait a minute. I'm reading that again. I'm going to go to the NLT. So it's the book of Isaiah chapter 10, verse 1, and it says, what sorrow awaits the unjust judges and those who issue unfair laws. And this is clearly an unfair law. This is an unfair law. No questions asked, no doubt about it. That's why there's so much opposition towards it. She said that it's going to violate First Amendment rights. And American citizens have the right to boycott whatever they feel. This is America, right? But when it comes to Israel, when it comes to these small hats, when it comes to these Amalekites, they throw all their U.S. moral code and constitution out the window. All right? And it says, verse 2, it says, they deprive the poor. This Isaiah 10 and 2 in the NLT. It says, they deprive the poor of justice and deny the rights of the needy among my people. So that's that's about what they're doing to our people, Israel. And that's what they're gonna do. What when they, I'm just hypothesis. But when you really think about it, who else is really speaking out against them that they're not talking about? The prophets. Now they're not gonna put the prophets on the news on headlines. But when it all comes to when you're on a YouTube and then you're talking about these motherfuckers like I'm doing right now, they might try to do some shit to where like, hey man, you're boycotting. All right, let's go into the word boycott real quick. See what they got. I'm gonna go into etymology. They usually have fairly decent definitions. So we're going to boycott. So it's a noun and verb because it is an action. So it says to combine and refusing to have dealings with and preventing or discouraging others from doing so as punishment for political or other differences. It says, so it says, to combine and refusing to have dealings with. So what? To combine and refusing to have dealings with and preventing or discouraging others from doing so. So what? That's Amalek crying and fucking Esau and America wiping their tears. Metaphorically speaking. Oh, anti-S. No, you can't boycott against my mouth. You can't boycott against our pimp. You can't say shit against these Amalekites, man. And they tell you right here. It says particularly our ally Israel. Yep, and when you go into other like similar words, it got protest, objection, dissent. So it's basically they don't want you speaking out against. Long story short, they don't want you speaking against these small hats, these Amalekites, these rats. Let me go to the scripture real quick. It says, needing my people. It says they prey on widows and take advantage of orphans. Verse 3, it says, what will you do? What will you do when I punish you? So what is he going to do when he punishes you that making unfair laws? Now, granted, you go back then, you can talk about Israelites making unfair laws, but when you fast forward to now, it's Esau Edom. He's ruling. And now he's making unfair laws. Now he's doing this bullshit. It says, when I send disaster upon you from a distant land, to whom will you turn for help? Where will your treasures be safe? Hey, man, said, who will you turn for help? Because here it is, you small hat, you turn to America for help, but what you going to do once America's destroyed? You're going to get destroyed as well. Because remember, the Lord said he got a controversy for Zion. Over there in the land of Israel, you have these fucking Edomites who the Lord says he hates in our land, defiling it as we speak. And these lobbyists having these American puppets, their puppets, make these unfair laws against Americans on the behalf of them. You already got to say to our particularly our ally Israel. Hold on, let me go with it. what it said, so this is what this guy, what is it, Mike Lawler is his name, I think. Was it Mike? I think it's Mike Lawler. Yeah, Mike Lawler of New York, a New York Republican. Hold up. So this is what Mike Lawler, a New York Republican, said. So he said, this is in January. It says, I'm proud to reintroduce the IGO Anti-Boycott Act, which is the unfair law, a bipartisan effort to protect U.S. citizens, businesses, and our allies, particularly Israel, from discriminatory boycotts. But what are they boycotting? They're boycotting because you're fucking mass killing people. You're mass unaliving people over there in the Middle East. And you're still doing it as we speak. And here it is. America's funding it. America's funding it, allowing it. But it didn't talk about you don't got no money. It's only talk about there's no money. But yeah, y'all got all the time and money to fucking help these motherfuckers. And it says particularly Israel from discriminatory boycotts. This bill closes a critical loophole by ensuring that international organizations cannot enable harmful BDS, which stands for boycott, divestment, and sanctions. Boycotts and sanctions efforts. This legislation is essential to safeguarding Israel's security. So you said it's specifically saying for Israel. What the fuck? Come on, bro. Oops. Oh, shit. Yeah, it says this legislation is essential to safeguarding Israel's security and economy from unjust attacks. Now, here, I thought it was sticks and stones, man. But words, whatever, it's just words. Nobody's doing nothing to y'all. It's not like people are attacking a bunch of small hats over here in America. And over there in the land of Israel, they're at war. But here it is that the people boycotting, they're talking about, they're speaking against the war that's going on. And the bitch said that one of the people that's opposing it said that what is the Americans' right, the First Amendment right. But they're saying, fuck your First Amendment right. Don't speak about Amalek. Don't speak against the small hats. Don't speak against the 48ers, man. And you got this guy, Gottheimer, which I believe he's from Jersey. It says, international organizations can't get away with targeting our key democratic ally, Israel. Our key democratic ally, Israel. That's your main ally, and America is Israel's main ally. And right now, the whole world is despising them. And that's why, and now, even on American soil, you have people protesting against this, boycotting against it, to where now they got to make a law. Now they want to make a law, and they're giving an unfair punishment, a fucking $1 million fine and you're violating the First Amendment and your First Amendment. Matter of fact, let's bring that up. Let's see. Let's go to the Constitution. The Constitution. You know what? I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just... Now, the First Amendment, I think this is a word for word, the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution reads, it says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Grievances which they have prescribed. Yep. There it go. So that's right now what this law would do would contradict it, would come against this. And that's what the chick was saying. Marjorie Green, wherever you pronounce her name. And basically that goes to show how now that they basically don't give a fuck about the Constitution when it comes to Amalek, or they don't give about most laws, American laws and policies when it comes to Amalek, man. Because it said Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. Now, isn't that a religion over there? Because Judaism, so-called Judaism, isn't that a religion? So that actually is going solely against the First Amendment. It says, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. Now, what are the prophets doing? What are the prophets doing of YAHAWASHI when they go out there on the highways and byways and do these videos on YouTube? Exercising what? Their freedom of speech. So that's what Esau is trying to take away now. To take what? Take away choke the word. Because at the end of the day, once this fine shit in the prison time, that's them basically trying to take the prophets off. And it's all through the will of YAHAWASHI, because he said what? I work on the minds of the kings. So the Lord is putting it on these Congress, Trump, all that to make these laws, starting with the elites, from the elites on down, actually, to make this law to what? To get the prophets off the streets, man. And that's it right there. The persecution. Hold on, matter of fact, let's get what Yahushua said. So there's the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 9. To go right to the point, because remember, this is what Yahushua said was going to be the things that was going to be the signs of his coming. So he says in Matthew 24, verse 9, this is Yahushua speaking, says, then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Whose namesake? Yahushua, the God of Israel, the real Israelites, not those devils over there right now. They're here talking about they getting persecuted, but how you getting persecuted when they're fucking one of the superpowers is bending over backwards for you? And even Russia said something about that whole being against anti-S. So the fucking elites got all these devils in their pockets, and the elites are Amalekites. So you go to NLT of Matthew chapter 24, verse 9, it says, then you will be arrested, persecuted, and killed. You will be hated all over the world because you are my followers. Cut and dry. Because you are my followers. Who is he? Yahushua. Why do these elites, why do these governments, why do they want to take the prophets off of the streets? Because why? We're fucking with their shit. And here it is, they're using these protests, they're using these protests, these boycotts of these campus motherfuckers, the people of this world, to what? To be able to what? Bunch us all up so we can get them under this law. And that's why the Lord said what? Woe to the decree on righteous decrees, unfair laws. And that's what exactly what they're doing. They're making an unfair law. And we're going to see what comes of it. So, with that, Lord willing, this is edifying. I want to give all praises to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles of Israel, a.k.a. the apostles of Great Millstone. And peace and love to all the Akim. Continue to preach the truth and all truth for sincerity. Shalom.